with when we do our when we are going to do our agreement as well bilaterally. So for this work package management horizontal one, if you choose the flat rate cost or as an option, that it may happen that this will be work package management will be affected heavily by this option. Because it will depend on how much money you have dedicated or selected for external expertise, equipment, and infrastructure to then be represented as significant value. So it doesn't mean that the work package management total budget with maybe kind of small amount will not, that we will not take into consideration that you will be dedicating sufficient resources. Please do write in your description that you understand that work package management has to have a sufficient resource allocated to that for ensuring that there is going to be a good management and control and delivery of the whole implementation of the project through the 3 years and a half. So this is important for us. And depends if the delivery partner is part of this team and part of this work package management. So then, yes, we will wait naturally and logically that there is a allocated budget for each delivery partner that is being involved in the specific work package 2 management. So.
Yes, I can continue with the second question over the next question. There is a question about the in-kind contribution. So Sonia asked us if in-kind contribution as software licenses can be entered as a full cost for the partner's own contribution, but only the marginal cost for software in the budget. So when we talk about the in-kind contribution, what is important to emphasize is that whatever is taken, services, goods, or as we said, employee staff, which is basically only volunteers, what is entered as an in-kind has to should not have a monetary value accompanied during the project implementation. So whatever you are buying during the implementation period and getting your invoices in, it's eligible cost. There is no reason why not to have this thing in your budget if it's necessary for the project. So in-kind contribution also has to be the first point to distinguish it if you can enter it or not. Is it necessary for the project implementation? So in your case, if you have a software license which already exists, it was already paid by your organization, and you are going to need the software to be used during the project implementation, you have to have an independent assessor, qualified assessor, to assess which part of the software first is necessary for the project implementation, and then they estimate its value. And then this can be actually submitted to the first level control for the verification of an in-kind, also during the ex-ante audit, which is during the initiation phase, so after the project has been selected. So this is how it's going to be checked. If you have anything related to software development or buying a new software during the project implementation, which is necessary for the project implementation, it has to be entered into the budget as a cost, which will have their share also covered from ERDF. So in-kind contribution is this own contribution, which is for the goods and services already existing and owned by the project partner, and could be used or will be definitely used for the project implementation. So make sure that you understand this first, that there is that the ownership already has to be existing, and that you will have to engage an external independent assessor to estimate the value of that what you want to enter into your budget as an in-kind contribution. You can do that using, for example, parts of the, if you want to already be sure that this will be possible, you can use the lump sum which we have for preparation, initiation phase. So in both phases you can ensure that this is valid. audit. You can also enter this cost of this assessor in your budget, but this you have to know that it will also take off a bit of your budget for maybe other activities you might want to carry out. But there is a possibility. You have to just make sure that no, for example, a renovation of software license can be a cost which can partially be credited to the project budget if it happens as a cost during the project implementation. If the software license, which will not be is covering the period of the full project duration, then you have to have someone to assess its value before you enter it as an in-kind contribution.
Mm-hmm. I'll take the next question is how should delivery partners report the hour cost for staff cost? So on page 86 of the guidance, you will get to find there is always a section of audit trail per each cost category. And when we talk about staff cost option, standard scale of unit cost, there is this page 86 that lists the audit trail recommended for this option. And there is this mention to report of cost, which is a document that will confirm the number of hours that was used for the work made in the project. This report will be signed or has to be signed by the employer and the employee, and the template will be provided by the permanent secretariat. So this is the way of reporting this, and we will, if your project is selected and approved, you will receive all these templates.
Exactly. This is actually a bit of premature question because it actually refers to the period where a project is already selected and is going to be financed. All the reports, so the standard report which contains all the information we would require as a minimum will be provided to you by the first level control during the initiation phase again. So don't bother with this at this phase. Just make sure that you are able to estimate as precise as possible the number of hours all your project team will use, and to correctly calculate the hourly rate and to multiply them in a good way, which should be a...
There is this next question, which is, there is a guidance for the distribution of budget between the main urban authority and the associated urban authorities. No, there is no guidance as such. Everything will depend on how representative will be the allocation of activities to be delivered by each partner. So the budget will be logically reflected by the type of activities they have to deliver for the project implementation. So we don't preconize a different or a specific distribution of budget here. In the past, we had projects that had the main urban authority, depending on the nature of the solution or what they were trying to implement, maybe hosting the 60 or receiving 60% of the total budget of the project, while others were receiving only 20% of the total project budget because key delivery partners were rather implementing or delivering the innovative solution. So this will really depend on the nature of your solution that you propose and that you are aiming to implement. Next question, Srinita.
Yes, I can take Martina's question. Is there some fixed sum or percentage of the budget to work package management, work package communication, work package evaluation, or do we create it ourselves? As you could see, or you will see in the application forms, these 3 work packages are already predefined. So they are already structured in the application forms. You have to add a minimum of content there, but the budget for those 3 also you have to plan on your own. So you have to, there is no fixed sum or anything in the guidance which would tie you to insert certain amount of sum of euros to these 3 work packages. So you have to also dedicate your cost to these 3 work packages.
And don't be afraid, as I was telling with management work package horizontal, it happened for the ones that selected flat rates option that the budget amount was low significant. So we were like kind of wondering, oh, okay, this is low, but this is just a direct consequence of applying flat rates notion.
Yes. And it depends actually on basically on the activities of your project. So some projects are more staff intensive, some projects are less staff intensive. This is basically.
If this happens, only keep in mind that even if this will be an automatic calculation outside or borne by the system as well once you select this option, so then keep in mind that when you generate the significant heavier amounts in your thematic work packages, then you will have to always consider that some of this budget will have to be shifted or ensured to as well back up your delivery of your horizontal work packages of the management, the communication, and the monitoring and evaluation.
Exactly.
So next question is from Tatiana. We intend to have a PhD students as staff. Since they have scholarship and they are not official employees, can I put this in staff cost or external expertise?
You want me to? I can, yes, I can enter here because we have had this question already. I think we received it through the email. So we said this very heavily depends on your national legislation. So the type of the contract student will have, we cannot at this moment or without seeing them or without having a national person who is aware of a national legislation to know if this can be equivalent to the employment contract. So everything what is not equivalent to the employment contract, I would be more prone to put it into external expertise. If something happens and this is found to be different, you can always, during the initiation phase, you are going to have a support of first level control who will have a national controller who is aware of national legislation, and they will help you to shift it to the staff cost if this is eligible as a staff cost. So unfortunately, what we cannot do now is actually to interpret the situations which are covered by very specific national laws of your country. So I would be Tatiana. I would in your example, I would suggest more to put it into external expertise for now, to park it there, to have it foreseen as a cost, and then later can be changed if it's found that national legislation cover it as equivalent to the employee.
And then we have a question from Plamena. Which is the most preferable option that we would recommend regarding the staff cost? Option 1, flat rate, or the standard scale of unit cost?
I can actually, with those two, I can say that the flat rate has its limit. So, so far we had difficulty actually having even project partners who would select the flat rate. The reason is that the flat rate is actually tied to a threshold of European Union public procurement laws or regulation. The lowest threshold is around 140,000 euros, which means that if you have a public procurement, which you are as a partner, you're going to implement inside of the other budget cost categories you have, which will exceed this 140,000 euros, you are actually prevented to use a flat rate. So try to check that, see how big the other procurements will be, and since the budgets are 5 million euros, which is quite extensive, most of the project partners have procurements which go above the threshold of 140,000 euros. So make sure that you have this on mind when selecting. And I would say we are much closer to conclude also that the standard scale of unit cost is mostly used option for the staff.
Yes, so far in the two previous calls, it was a standard scale of unit cost. Yeah, we understand that flat rate can be a really interesting option, but it will be really to you to check at your level if you have any constraints that you are exceeding the thresholds and therefore you are prevented to use this. Other than that, I mean, if you have really significant infrastructure, equipment, and this cost that allow you this interesting 20% flat rate, then this could be a good and interesting approach to go for. But again, you are prevented by the threshold of public procurement. Next question from Katarina. Budget has to be calculated by work package, not activities, right? Yes and no, Katarina. The budget has to be calculated in all different senses. So application form is constructed by different sections. And one of the sections that we are covering here would be the work package implementation, which is the implementation of the project. And this work package implementation each work package is break down into different activities. And each activity is broken down into deliverables. And they result in an output. We have investments as well, etc. So it can happen that one work package budget budget is composed by not only activities, non-deliverables, outputs, but also investments. So then the budget that you calculate for those elements will be the sum, the total sum of the whole work package budget. So I think we did one example of this on live session in last year, July 2023, where there is in one of the slides or the presentation that we did in YouTube, that there was this example on how to calculate how everything is born, how we plan, how we build our budget, starting from the big amounts to the small amounts, or from the small amounts, bottom-up approach or top-down approach. So everything was explained there. So have a look to our support material. I'm pretty sure that you can always have a look to what we produce as well for the second call, just to have this access to these examples that we did. But yeah, budget has to be calculated in all. You have to justify how you are allocating the money that you're planning for your delivery of the actions and activities and deliverables and work package. So Elmar, there is a question regarding the ownership and durability. Can you elaborate on what is expected from the main urban authority, for instance, intellectual ownership of innovative solution? Okay, ownerships and IPR. Do you want to go on that? Or I can elaborate.
Yes,
okay, ownership and durability, these are two aspects that sort of help us with the reinforcing the sustainability of our innovative actions or solutions that we are planning to give funds or to implement with the cities. What is expected from the main urban authority? It is that once the project has reached the end date of the implementation, there is these two obligations: ownership, durability, always within the framework of sustainability, meaning that any output, any key output, any investment equivalent like to be a final product of the project has to be owned by any of the project partners only during the 5 years after the end date, the last payment made to the main urban authority. So there cannot be changes. You cannot shift the ownership of an investment, of an output, to another organization outside the partnership. It has to remain within one of the project partners. This is ownership. Durability, the same. There cannot be specific changes made to the nature of either the investment or the key output for at least 5 years following the final payment made to the main urban authority. And these key outputs and investments, they need to remain or serving the same purpose they were created for. It means as they were part of the project. So if you create a social hub, they have to continue to be used and function as a social hub for same purposes as you created in the project, in terms of the project.
Yes, to support that, there is a chapter 7.5.5 in the guidance named ownership and durability, which explains all this, as also all the situation in which the durability, the rule of durability would be considered to be violated. So in change of the ownership, as Nelida actually explained so far, so you can actually go into the guidance and read it into the details.
And for what you ask, Elmar, on the intellectual ownership of the innovative solution, this is very specific to your project or to the thing that you are planning to sort of implement. I would recommend you drop us an email, because if this is linked to IPR, we would always recommend you, in case your project is selected, to us, well, there is manners that we can support you when drafting your partnership agreement, etc., specific articles or aspects that you should consider, and make sure that we are not falling outside the scope of what is eligible and regular in practice of using the EU funds.
Yes, so I will take the next question, and Katarina was asking us, can you please explain the concept of in-house contracting? So in very specific conditions, and it happens sometimes with the public institutions, it can happen that the project partner needs to procure goods or services from someone, and that someone that someone who they would do it is someone who is owned by them. So sometimes the service provider or the city, for example, the urban authority has the obligation to use the services of the service provider who is owned by them or established by them. In this case, there is a sort of a breach. There is a notion of a breach of the market principles of the public procurement and the clear market regulation of the public procurement. There is a section also in the guidance which describes all this, and it describes, among others, that the type of contracts which need to be established already between the public authority or a partner and the service provider, that it has to follow certain conditions to be fulfilled, in which, for example, the contracting authority, so the partner, exercises the rights over the provider of services, with more than 80% of activities of the providers are carried out in the performance of tasks entrusted by the controlling contracting authority. So it means that 80% of all the services or goods they provide are being purchased by the contracting authority, or in our case, the partner, and that there is no other private ownership involved. So there is no other shareholder who would be a private one. In these cases, there is a possibility that you avoid the public procurement rules, which are set by either by your organization, by a national legislation, and also by the European Union regulation. What is also important to emphasize here, that among these three instances of regulations for the public procurement, there is always the main goal is that the strictest one prevails. So you have to apply the strictest among all of them. In this kind of cases, this is why it's mentioned a special case in the guidance. Also, in these cases, you are obviously bounded to procure your services from someone who is contracted, who you are contracted with, and who you established, or as a partner who is established by you or is in ownership of you, and there is a legal framework which work in that case.
Okay. How about if we allocate a higher amount to a cost category that in the future will be spent? Can we use then the value of other cost category that we need to be strict? Okay, so this is about shifting budget along the implementation phase. There is budget flexibility rule, and I'm pretty sure this is specified in the guidances as well. This time we go for 25% or 25,000 euro, if not mistaken. So yes, there is this budget flexibility rule that will always allow you to shift budget among your budget lines, among cost categories, among work packages, as you will need to when delivering the project. There is no specific administrative procedure to be started when we shift this budget, just informing the permanent secretary or your officer if your project is approved. However, if you exceed this 25% or amount of budget flexibility rule, then you will have to start a different procedure, which is called major request for changes for budgetary purposes. But this is another thing, just in case your project is selected. We can always go back and re-explain this in case your project is selected in future. There is another question, Srinka.
I can take over this one. It's related to the in-kind contribution, or actually own contribution of the partner. The question is, can main urban authority cover the total cost of contribution, a 20% own contribution, partnership contribution of the partnership, or for some partners in case of technical limitations of partners? Absolutely. We had already this kind of cases that the main urban authority or the partner who had was the owner of the asset which was going to be used during the implementation of the project to achieve the goals, was actually granting the 20% of the partner's own contribution to other partners, sometimes even the whole partnership. So that's possible.
Just to remind you, because we are running against time. Unfortunately, we just have, let's say, 7 minutes left before the session ends. So we will try to take as much as possible the questions that we still have in front of us. And other than that, please, in case that we are running out of time and then we have to close this event because, yes, we need to be respectful of the time as well, please do not hesitate to drop us an email and send us your query, your doubt, your question. This is why we are here for, to support you while preparing your application forms. So there is this question from Elke. If the total project cost exceeds the 6.25 million euro, what would this mean for eligibility and selection? Normally, your project and automatically prevented by the system will be blocked at 6.25. Because something that will exceed this will be sort of recognized as error and you will not be able to submit your application form. So I hope this answers the question. Then you have a question. Oh, I can read the question quickly. The investment from Tatiana. The investments directly connected to the project are considered as its total value or considered with amortization during the project. Directly connected to the project are considered as its total value or considered with amortization during the project.
So all the investment directly connected to the project means that they are there. The investment actually happened because of the project to reach the project objectives. So we are the full cost of those is eligible. So you can count with the full cost of this kind of investment. So there is a types of equipment where the amortization can be taken into account, but everything is basically explained in the guidance. But the full cost of any investment or buying of any goods and services necessary for project implementation are eligible.
The next question is, do we need to contact an assessor to give value of in-kind contribution, or is the initiative
is not going to do that? As I said during the presentation, you can use later. You are with the first installment, with first payment of 50% of advance, you will be covered also the lump sum, which you don't have to anyhow. You don't have to justify it by any documents, where you will have the lump sum for preparation and for the initiation phase, where we know that your costs will such costs will happen. You can either budget it into your budget, but since you know the eligibility period starts with the implementation period and you need to know this value already before, I would suggest you do it, and then you can cover it with the lump sum which will come with the preparation. So the project has to do it to have the assessor to estimate the value of the in-kind contribution.
So the next question says, is the main urban authority the only one receiving the funds, or is also the associated urban authorities? The main urban authority will be the sole recipient of the payment made from the initiative and receiving the ERDF funds. Then the main urban authority will have to redistribute these payments or funds received to the different delivery partners, associated urban authorities, transfer partners, etc.
I will take a next question just to office and then to leave the last for Nelida. Office and administration can be added in one work package, or shall we split it in every work package? Every work package has already predefined section cost category, which is office administration, and it's automatically calculated based on the staff costs you entered into every work package budget.
I'll be super short with Chris' question. C35 section result indicators, are these mandatory? Yes, they are mandatory, because when you put forward your application form to us, we need to know which is your challenge and which is the result that you are aiming with this proposed solution. And this the result, this immediate change because of delivering the project solution, then has to be well explained in your application form, section C, and therefore result indicators, they have to be already sort of being reflected in your application form. Note that if your project is selected, there is always this initiation phase where we will, as permanent secretariat officers and with the help of external expertise of people that work for us as well, sort of help you and strengthen the notion of result indicators and make a review of this section as well, but only if your project is selected. But nevertheless, for a selection process and in case you want to get the funds, yes, it will be good that you reflect solid result indicators at this stage already. This is important. Katarina, question on travel costs and office costs?
Then we have a Katarina's question. Does travel costs and office costs need to be calculated for every work package? This is the same as I said before. So office administration and travel and accommodation costs are automatically dedicated, are automatically calculated for every work package based on the amount of staff costs you planned for your work package for each project partner. There is one more lump sum. Is there no post justification necessary? Can the 25,000 euros also be used for the initiation phase? Lump sum are basically are dedicated or given to the project partner, project partnership based on the milestone they reach. So they reach the milestone selected for the project implementation. They get the preparation cost. This is how they earn the preparation cost. There is no necessary documents which needs to be submitted to justify those costs. For the implementation initiation phase, there is a specific lump sum. Also, you don't have to justify by any means on what you exactly use this amount. So lump sum are.
Yeah, just to close this question, these two questions from Katarina, you are meaning the 100,000 euros paid as a total lump sum, combining preparatory phase plus initiation phase in case your project is going through the next filter. So for this 100K or 1,000 euro, as notion of lump sum, we don't request, as same as for flat rates, we don't request an audit rate behind.
Yes, so, absolutely. So there is a lump sum you get as a point. You get it because you reached certain point. It's not connected to staff costs or to any other cost category whatsoever.
So preparatory phase is because you submitted the application form. So this is the evidence that allows you to receive the preparatory lump sum. And initiation phase is like that you went through the initiation phase successfully or even not successfully as well. So, but you enter into that phase, therefore you receive as well the initiation phase lump sum. So this is regarding lump sums. I'm afraid that we have to cut now and close this session. I'm so sorry for that. I hope that there are not that many questions left on your side, but anyhow, please do not hesitate to drop us an email. Keep us contacting through different support and channels that we have put to support you for this preparatory of your Call3 application forms. So thank you very much for all the questions that you have put through us today. We wanted to just share with you there is one more slide that we wanted to share with you just to let you know that all the support information you need or you related to our Call3 it's everything put in the website page. Even the last support documentation that was this application form seminar or workshop that happened in Brussels on 10th of September. This is interesting as well, information with really examples and practical cases there. So have a look there. If you have further questions, please do not forget to email us at the innovativeactions@urban-initiative.eu. And do not forget to register. There is one last online question and answer session on the 10th of October. There is no focus there as it was today, finances mainly. There it will be more like wrapping up all the questions or last minute doubts or queries that you need to solve prior sending and submitting your application form. So this is our last as well session for you that we will be willing to.
Lida, I would just jump in with one information that there will be for all the questions which are unanswered and you already sent them in, we are going to send the written answers to them already. So
thank you. Thank you. And then there is one more last request that I have to make sure that you help us with is please fill in a short survey to provide a feedback on our question and answer session of today before you leave this online session, please. This is quite important for us. It will help us to improve for the future as well and make sure that you are heard. We would be super grateful. Please do not hesitate to as well participate in this survey live. And thank you again for your participation. Goodbye and all the best of luck for your application forms. And luckily you will be one of the cities selected with your proposal and be part of our portfolio in Call3. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.